these individuals are being singled out at the airport. We're seeing it. Our clients are seeing it. So they'll go and they'll look at text messages, they'll look at images, they'll look at highly private information. Hey everyone, David Tarras here, head of the Federal Criminal Defense Practice and White Collar Practice at the Rossen law firm. So what we're going to be talking about on today's video is something that is becoming increasingly alarming and that we're seeing happen to a lot of our clients, and that is clients and individuals who are coming through the airports and having their phones seized at the airports. Now that is a huge issue. It's something that attorneys like myself and our firm, as well as attorneys and civil liberty unions around the country have been challenging for some time now. And we're just starting to see the courts finally respond to this extremely intrusive issue. As it relates to your phone being seized at the airport, there are a few different constitutional laws in play here, and there are things that you can do to protect yourself. When you find yourself in this situation, you're going to be in a very scary situation. It's not normal for most people to be in a situation where law enforcement officers have pulled them aside at the airport, sometimes in front of their loved ones, their children, their family, and their friends, and it's intimidating, right? So we at the Rossen law firm and our federal and white collar practice, we have a big emphasis on trying to guide our clients through this scenario. And if your cell phone is seized or any of your digital devices are seized at the airport, please do not hesitate to contact us. The main way that these federal agents, which really starts with Custom Border Patrol, CBP, and then we get into Homeland Security, sometimes FBI, but mostly Customs and Homeland Security, their basis for these very often warrantless and sometimes suspicionless seizures of your cell phone is what's known as the custom border exception to the Fourth Amendment. Everybody under the United States Constitution, under the Fourth Amendment, has a right against unlawful searches and seizures, but there are exceptions that are built in. And for about 100 years now, there has been this exception that says for individuals who are coming through or coming into the United States or are traveling within the United States, if they want the privileges of traveling and of using what our country offers and coming into this country or traveling through our country, then they give up a lot of those Fourth Amendment rights. And they don't tell you that when you're sitting in that room. Maybe sometimes you've had an experience, or a lot of people have had an experience where they are randomly selected when they are coming through security or coming back into the country or coming back into their state of travel, their final destination, and it appears that a law enforcement officer or an agent comes up to you and says, hey, you've been randomly selected to come and talk to us. And they'll take your luggage and they'll run your luggage, make sure everything is good, and then usually let you go. But we also see that that same ability, that right that lets them randomly select people to search their luggage has also been very, very much abused, and more so in recent years than ever. So what they're doing is they're using this right that gives the Supreme Court has given them this exception to the Fourth Amendment to these federal agents to enforce the needs of national security and to make sure that our border is protected and that no contraband is coming into our border or that there are no potentially illegal individuals entering into the border. They've now expanded that and are using that, and have been for some time, to also get your devices. Most commonly, and the most concerning, is your cell phone. We are seeing people be stopped for what they'll call random border inspections, and then they'll question you for a bit. You'll think that everything is harmless, and then all of a sudden they'll say, oh, and by the way, we've seen your luggage, and they put your luggage through the scan. You think you're about to go. We would like to see your cell phone. And this is the start of it. And right now, the law is not great regarding these, what we call basic search of a cell phone at the border. They will ask to see your cell phone. If you give them consent to see your cell phone, and we'll talk about consent, we'll talk about saying yes versus saying no, you do not have a right to see my cell phone, and what are the consequences of that. But if you consent to letting them see your cell phone because perhaps you haven't been through this experience, perhaps you haven't seen this video or spoken to an experienced federal criminal defense attorney, which is not uncommon. Most people haven't when they're just going through the airport or haven't had a previous case. Often people say, sure, you can go ahead and look at my cell phone. So they'll go and they'll look at text messages, they'll look at images, they'll look at highly private information. And if they don't find anything on the phone that leads them to believe that a further review of the phone would produce any illegal materials, any contraband, or any reason for them to continue this detention or prolong their detention against you, then in some cases they'll give your phone back. But now what we're seeing is that basic search, which they are allowed to do, just like they're allowed to put your bag through another inspection, very commonly and in certain scenarios and dangerous scenarios for our clients can then proceed to what we call an advanced search. So most common scenario that we're seeing there is they've asked to see your cell phone. Our client, you might believe that it's harmless, that they're just going to look and make sure there's no super illegal text messages or images that are on the phone. Then you sit there for about 30, 45 minutes. The custom official or TSA official that first spoke with you and did this initial search has usually disappeared, and you're waiting and you're waiting, and then all of a sudden somebody from Homeland Security comes in. And Homeland Security says, we've done an initial review of your cell phone. We haven't downloaded anything. We haven't unlocked anything. But based on some things that we found concerning, we'd like to speak to you further. And this is where things get really dangerous, because what that means at that point is that this has gone from just your basic traditional custom and border patrol, making sure there's no illegal activity going on or being brought into the United States, to a real investigation. And that means they've seen something on your phone. Now, the law for a long time has justified this, has said that our Customs Border Patrol, our Homeland Security has essentially carte blanche to go ahead and seize your phone, to go into your phone and try and make sure that, just like they would with a piece of luggage, that they're doing their jobs in protecting our borders for national security concerns and the other concerns that they relay in these scenarios. But they're using it now for different purposes than they would in the past. For example, after 9/11, where people were being regularly targeted and regularly searched for national security concerns, there was a lot more leeway, and one could argue that it made more sense at that time. Were people being profiled? Was there prejudice? Absolutely. But now, if the federal government, if the Department of Justice has a specific target group in mind, these individuals are being singled out at the airport. We're seeing it. Our clients are seeing it, are singled out, and we're seeing more and more people get to that advanced search stage. So the government, the Department of Justice, and all of these agencies, Custom Border Patrol, Homeland Security, FBI, being under the umbrella of the Department of Justice, they have target countries and target individuals who they are singling these people out for these alleged random searches and then continuing the detention to see if they can find anything more on the phone. And if we get to the point where it comes from the basic search to the advanced search, that means that Homeland Security is very likely going to keep your cell phone and then actually download information off of your cell phone, okay? And that's when things get extremely just intrusive of your rights. And this is all intrusive, but very, very intrusive. They will keep your phone if they believe they have suspicion that there may be some sort of criminal activity that your contents of the phone might lead them to, and they'll take it, and they'll usually let you leave the airport if there's not anything blatantly illegal that gives them probable cause to arrest or detain you on your phone at the time, and they'll let you go and leave you with paperwork, usually a property receipt, saying, we've taken your phone, we will be in contact. And How to get back in touch with them is nearly impossible if you don't hire an attorney. Okay, you could go days, weeks while you're sitting there wondering what is going on with my phone. Why are they downloading information off of my phone? We've gotten, thankfully, we've challenged this and we've gotten more courts, most specifically so far, the Southern District of New York, but other courts are starting to come around and saying, no, this Fourth Amendment border search exception was not intended to seize people's personal material off of their cell phones. And what we're seeing the courts give as a justification for that, just one, is that these laws, this exception was made for luggage, for contraband, for cash, tangible things that an individual who's getting off a flight, coming into the United States or crossing through the United States can bring with them, okay, and can actually be seized. Actual criminal content that is in their possession, tangible criminal content that's in their possession. But now we have a situation where a person's phone could have potentially a few text messages that are implicating or that could lead them to want to follow a lead, but it's also tons and tons of private information. Our phones contain our family photographs. They contain emails, text messages to clients, doctors, lawyers whose phones are being taken. And there is a very specific case going on now of a lawyer who said, you're not taking my phone because I have tons of communication and text messages with clients on here that are privileged. So no, you're not taking this phone and doing a dump of my phone. Moral of the story is, if this happens to you, you have to contact an attorney. You have to remember as well that you are allowed to say no, even in the beginning search. They'll try and give you a form that says, oh, just consent to the search and you'll be on your way. And if we see anything that might be a little suspicious, we're just going to download the phone, the contents, and give it back to you soon. We'll give you a ring when it's ready. No, you're allowed to say no. If you say no, then that will require the Homeland Security or other federal agent that if they really want the contents to go and seek a warrant for your phone. They have to have a much higher level of suspicion to get that. But don't help the government do their job. Don't give up your privacy. Okay, you have rights. You still have the Fourth Amendment that protects you. And if you do have any concerns, if this happens to you, you really need to contact an experienced federal criminal defense attorney like myself and the attorneys at the Rossen law firm who can guide you through this process of protecting your sensitive material. And God forbid, if there is any criminality on this phone, to stop any sort of investigation before it gets too far. We do have recourses. There are federal rules that allow us to bring motions and file motions in the district where this occurred, such as the Southern District of Florida, if your phone was seized in Miami, for return of property. There are time limits for how long they can keep the phone. You have options here, but the best thing to do in this scenario is not give them consent, and at your earliest availability, contact an attorney, contact us at the Rossen law firm so we can walk you through the steps of how to protect your privacy in these scenarios. Thanks.